What's up, guys and gals? It's time for the latest piece of One Piece, chapter 1159. And right out of the gate, I am regretting that I didn't do a live stream for this one and or a live reaction, because not so much a live stream, but I was sort of playing around with the idea when the chapter dropped last night. I said, maybe I'll live react to it right now before I read it. You know, it was just after the football game and stuff like that, after the weather delay, it dropped, and I was like, I could do this. I could see myself doing this. And then I said, no, I'll just review it like normal. And I'm regretting that now, because when I was reading the chapter, it was like, wow, whoa, a lot of W's going on, right? I was just, each page was like, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing the other thing, so I sort of regret not doing a live reaction for this chapter, not realizing that it was going to be so bombastic in that regard. Funnily enough, even though the cover serial was one of the big things last week, this week, chapter 1159, Island of Destiny, continuing the Holy Inari Shrine pilgrimage and all that stuff with Yamato, Old T, page 1, and stuff like that. And the big reveal about Moria, honorary Kazuki, real Kazuki, we have no idea. But we're just chilling. We're just eating apples in the winter lands and on our way back to the flower capital. Does this mean that the cover serial is pretty much over at this point? Maybe, maybe not. Hard to say, but nothing really going on there. The chapter proper, however, wow. And this makes a lot of sense. Just jumping right into the gate. How did Shaki, in the most protected island, you could argue, basically in the One Piece world at this junction, 30, plus years ago, 39 years ago, how was she captured? How was she taken away? Because that's what we all assumed that God Valley was about, and that's pretty much what God Valley is about. I mean, there's multiple layers to God Valley, but the reason that Rox and Roger went, and part of the reason Rox went, we find out this chapter. Rox went for a multitude of reasons. Roger went to, because he assumes that, it's for Shaki that Rox screwed up in his protection detail. Garp goes because he hears Roger is going, and it's just a snowball effect, right? The God's Knights are there because of, Shanks and Shamrock's father Garling. So there's like multiple layers onto how everything transpired and we got to this point. But how Shaki was, this makes so much sense. They're pirates. They are pirates. They are not good people. And the fact is, no matter how beloved Shaki might have been, it's looking like about 150 years ago Southern America right now. You know what I mean? Like it's looking like that. It's like, oh well, if I can make $1, it's all about the almighty dollar. And Wang Ji here is obviously the one causing this turmoil, causing this grief, because the opening page we see that you looked everywhere. It's 39 years ago on the pirate island. Don Marlin and some other people were killed. Don Marlin was killed. Okay, so he was probably, we don't know enough about Don Marlin quite yet, but a lot of people have assumed that he was the leader of the 5 families, like Beijing currently, you know what I mean? But he was the godfather. He is Marlon Brando of the One Piece world at the time, and it only split into these families, or these ununified families after this, that Don Marlin was killed, and then that's when they maybe did a split. There's a lot we can talk about in the mafia world, how that how that hierarchy works and stuff like that. But Don Marlin was actually killed when Shaki was kidnapped. So he was obviously trying to defend. Who did it? Obviously, God's Knights were involved, we can assume. I doubt it was the Marines proper. It seems to me, as someone of Don Marlin's caliber, we can assume is on the hierarchy, unless Wang Ji was really that backstabby, which it could have been Wang Ji himself, or it could have been a combination of the God's Knights plus Wang Ji, while obviously the Rox Pirates were away. They would never, even the God's Knights, I don't think, had the balls to attack Pirate Island when the Rox Pirates were away. They had the insider in Wang Ji, who turned a tidy profit from this transaction, and I'm assuming that the God's Knights were absolutely involved, because it seems like that's what Garling's whole idea here is in this chapter. His whole plan, his whole the prize to be won. Very much Aladdin Jasmine style, and in much darker terms. And like, whoa, okay, I did not expect this. Don Marlin being assassinated, probably by a combination of the God's Knights plus Wang Ji, who takes a payout to betray the Rocks pirates, get Don Marlin killed, and then allow Shocky to be kidnapped, all for the almighty dollar. And I'm just there like, okay, Wang Ji is a pirate through and through, and is a piece of shit. I mean, Rocks has honor, but I think Wang Ji should have joined Blackbeard's crew. You know what I mean? He's got the pedigree for that type of those type of pirates, more so than the Rocks pirates. And we all said that, and Whitebeard even acknowledged this back in the Wano flashback, that putting too many strong people, not necessarily just strong, powerful people, but too many leaders, too many conquerors together on one crew, eventually is going to turn on itself. And we have this idea right here that, yeah, the fact that Rocks managed to keep these guys in line and together for as long as he did is relatively impressive. And obviously we're seeing a breakdown here when it comes to the price was too good. You know what I mean? The money was too good. So the Dawn couldn't even protect her. Who the hell did this? We have no idea. Rocks and Whitebeard are like they kidnapped Shocky. Their Gloriosa is just beside herself in tears at the idea of losing Shocky, of course, because she was her senior as an empress and stuff like that. It only took a little bit, but they left behind no trace. The pirates were distraught, shaking with rage. Roger reads about it and is completely infuriated. He's like, Rocks, how could you let this happen? I'm going to go, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to go rescue Shocky, and I'm going to kick your ass for this. You were in charge. You were supposed to protect her. What happened? You know what I mean? It's reminding me heavily of Koga Inuyasha Kagome from of course, the Inuyasha manga and anime, where Koga blames Inuyasha a couple of times. There's a specific episode, a fan favorite episode, where he's like, listen, like, I leave her with you, even though it's one-sided, unrequited love. He goes, I leave her with you because you're supposed to protect her. The fact of the matter is that I was involved here, and she's seemingly was getting close to death. She's beaten up, what have you. You put her in harm's way, and you didn't protect her. If I had been there, this wouldn't have happened. Like, you are not doing your job and stuff like that. And normally these two, very alpha male, dog wolf, about it, a dog eat dog world sort of idea. They usually butt heads, but he acknowledges, like, you're right, I screwed up. You know what I mean? So this is reminding me of that sort of idea. Roger being like, she's just doing her own thing, and I know you're powerful, and you should be more than capable of protecting her. The fact that you failed and fucked up is why he's pissed. He's like, wouldn't have happened on my watch. It happened on your watch. You're responsible, and I'm pissed off. You know what I mean? So, as they say in the chapter, word spread across the sea, even Rayleigh, of course, who he knows that Shocky has a lot of affection for him and stuff like that. So he's reading the paper and he's much more serious about it and being like, Shocky sort of idea. He's like, uh-oh. So when they find out word of where she is, they immediately, Rayleigh, of course, is one of the ones like, yep, we're going. Absolutely. Like, they're all like, yep, we're going to go get Shocky. So it's amazing, like, how Shocky, once again, does not, as far as we know, have a devil fruit. And Boa Hancock's beauty and stuff is amplified by her devil fruit and things like that. But the fact of the matter is that Boa is just not on Shocky's level. Like, the world's economy went to a halt for a few weeks because nobody was smiling. Like, the smiles were gone from the world. Like, Shocky being kidnapped and possibly, dead was like, you could eat a smile fruit and that shit would still be a frown, is what they're implying here. Like, there was no, birds weren't singing, the economy ground to a halt, nobody was working, like, the world just stopped turning for several weeks because it was like, what is the point in life without Shocky around? You know what I mean? Like, the world revered this woman. She was the Princess Diana, and she's just, like, the ground she walked on was gold. And now she's missing, she's gone, she's kidnapped, and nobody knows where she is or if she's okay, and the world is just beside itself, you know? So I think that this is really, really, like, we're getting into some deep, deep shit here. And we jump in. Of course, people assumed that this was planned or something like that, as far as Garling with the kids and stuff like that. Seemingly was not. Garling had no affection for this woman, had no idea or found out about the Davy family. We'll get to that. But when we jump away to God Valley 1 year later, so it took them a year to figure out where Shocky was. So Shocky was kidnapped and imprisoned for a year. Now, what went on? We are left to our imagination and stuff like that. It seems like Garling wants to win her, so I assume that she was kidnapped in a prison cell, etc., chained up, but wasn't anybody's slave, obviously, because the Celestial Dragons are trying to win her. So she was basically kept for 12 months under wraps, and just basically under lock and key. So it doesn't, and by the looks of her, it doesn't seem like she was mistreated necessarily at all, like in the ways that we know Celestial Dragons are. You know, she was not treated like a Kuma, as far as we can tell. So silver lining there, I suppose, but we don't really know what went on in that 1 year while they were all trying to track her down. So in that year, of course, Shanks and Shamrock were born. And Garling shows up, and the quote unquote the mother of these twins was all like, "Oh, Garling, I knew you'd come back. This is Shamrock and Shanks. It's your, these are your children," and stuff like that. So he doesn't seem shocked by the fact that he fathered children with this woman, but he's like, "So these are your kids. So you're gonna stay with me here on God Valley, right?" And Garling is we already knew he was a piece of shit, but yep, he has absolutely got no redeeming qualities whatsoever. He's like, well, if we were to share a home, it certainly wouldn't be here. Since this island, it's not going to be around much longer anyways. And he's like, oh, and besides, I've already secured a worthy bride for myself and placed the order. Like, he literally is talking about like a mail order bride. And he's referring to Shocky here. And he goes, she will be mine, provided that I triumph in the upcoming tournament. And she's like, the tournament? And then he just straight up kills her in front of the kids. In front of the babies. She's there with the stroller. Like, oh, Garling, I'm so glad you're here. Look, your children are good and healthy, but, are you going to be around more? Like, take care of them, father, be a dad to your kids and stuff like that? He's like, yes, but you're not in that picture. Stab. Jeez. Like this is just getting darker and darker. So now he's like, yeah, he obviously has no problem fathering kids with random women, so potentially he has more kids out there. But he's like, yeah, but you're not worthy enough to be my wife. So, the kids are from me, and just look at me. Like, my DNA is obviously in them, so, they're going to be great. But you're you're dirty. You're not clean enough. You're not, you don't have the pedigree. You don't have the, it's just, oh my God, it's so elitist. It's so, and I mean, we should have expected, and I think we all gathered that from Garling's attitude before, but just seeing it put into practice is just like, ow. Wow, this guy, the nerve of this guy. So anyways, they're starting the tournament, obviously, up and stuff like that. The whole island is being surrounded. Dragon as a young Marine, instantly recognizable, of course. Mr. I'm trying to be a Super Saiyan 3 without eyebrows, you know what I mean? I'm trying to pull off that stunt. And they're using tranquilizer rounds. Of course, Dragon is questioning his superiors already. I don't know how young Dragon would be here. He'd be a teenager, wouldn't he? Like 16, 17 years old, something like that. I don't think it's stated how old he is here in the chapter. But it was 38 years ago from the current storyline. Dragon's in his 50s, I think. So he'd be 16, 17 here. Anyways, he's obviously a young recruit. They must know who he is. Like, he's the son of the current... he's the son of the Vice Admiral Garp, who's still... sort of, he's already made a name for himself, but I guess his name doesn't hold as much weight as it does, 30 years later. But still, they're just like, no, why are you questioning orders? You need 10 more years in the Marines before you can start, get on your father's level, and then you can start questioning orders and stuff. You just do what you're freaking told here, right? And they're like, are you questioning orders? Sorry, sir, he's still in training and stuff like that. So obviously he's been recently recruited. And Dragon's justifying it's like, well, they're only tranquilizer, bullets. So I assume, like, everything will be all right. They're tranquilizer guns. So we're not actually killing any of these people. I don't really know why we're doing this and stuff. I'm questioning it, but I guess I got to follow orders and stuff like that. And Dragon's already, not liking what he's seeing being a new recruit into the Marines. We don't get his rank or anything like that. We're just told it's Dragon, father of Luffy, future, revolutionary, blah, 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 blah. Now, this is where we jump over to the Marine ships and stuff like that. We see Ginny and Ivankov and stuff like that from another perspective. There's Kuma, and we already knew all this stuff from previous chapters and stuff like that, that they were on God Valley, etc., etc. We also see Morgans being like, well, he's going to the Cypherpole Intelligence Bureau, and he's like, well, don't be quiet. You guys caught wind of that transmission, You'd rather keep this story quiet, so I think I should be paid. He's already the president of the World Economic Journal. He's already got his devil fruit, being, Big Bird, a young Big Bird here. And he's, basically bargaining with Cypherpole and stuff like that. He goes, I'm going to leak this news to Pirate Island anyway. So he was already like, I owe you guys nothing. I owe no loyalty. So he's getting a paycheck for keeping the news quiet that Shocky is on. The news being that Shocky, he intercepted a transmission, obviously, between Den Mushi's, however he got it, that Shocky was going to be the prize and was revealed to be at God Valley to be a prize for their tournament. He leaked it to Pirate Island, and that, of course, leaked it to everyone, leaked it to the world that Shocky was on God Valley. After 12 months, they finally figured out where she was going to be. So the Rocks crew, of course, heads out, and, the Roger crew heads out. Garp, of course, following the Roger crew, and it's just a big-ass nightmare. Now, this is where we jump over to Pirate Island going nuts, and everyone's like, it's Shocky, she's still alive, is this real? I'm relieved, she's at God Valley. Where the hell is God Valley? Oh, it's in the West Blue and stuff, which actually makes a lot of sense that God Valley is in the West Blue, because Shanks said his hometown, his homeland, when he went on Whitebeard's ship and offered sake from the West Blue, he said, it's from my hometown. So this is odd for him to say it's from my hometown in the West Blue. I thought God Valley was a race. Now, of course, someone of Shanks' pedigree can go wherever the hell he wants. I assumed that it was like Atlantis, like they sunk that island. That island isn't there anymore. But apparently it might still be standing in some way, shape, or form, because he went to God Valley, which is in the West Blue, which is where he was born. I'm sure Shanks has figured out what his lineage is, and we know that he did go to the Marie Joie and meet up with his father, obviously, and stuff like that. We don't know the details behind it, but a lot of mystery unraveling here in this chapter and stuff, but it all makes sense, because that's where he got the sake to, try to appease Whitebeard and stuff like that. Yeah, just craziness. Now, of course, Wang Zhi is trying to, I don't know if we can trust this source, boys. Like, where does this information come from? Like, so obviously he's worried because Shocky might know that Wang Zhi sold her out. Possibility there, so he's nervous, obviously, about Shocky being alive. But we see Shiki, we see Captain John, we see all of them being like, there's no doubt about it, she's here. Gloriosa's very happy. Big Mom and Kaido, everyone's like, she's gonna be a prize in the Celestial Dragon tournament. Those damn government bastards, they kidnapped her. Well, then we gotta go get her. And even Whitebeard's like, so that human hunt wasn't just a rumor. So they've been hearing about this, but now it's confirmed to them that this baseless rumor at the time 40 years ago about the Gods Knights and the Celestial Dragons holding a tournament like this, the human hunt, is actually real. And they're like, oh, this is even more despicable. They just keep getting worse and worse and worse. So Rox is in the right to try to overthrow these bitches. You know what I mean? Now, this is where, of course, we know that Kaido initially said to Whitebeard, man, a devil fruit power like yours. Like, he specifically wants a good one. He wants a very powerful, prestigious one. And Kaido is interested at this point in devil fruits. Obviously, he changed his mind later on in life, and he decided that, you know, as good as devil fruits are and as powerful as they can be, Haki is the true master of the seas. Whoever has the greatest Haki is always going to be better than the guy who has the most powerful devil fruit, at least in Kaido's mind. So here, Big Mom is even noting, like, hey, Kaido, you know, they're putting some devil fruits up for grabs. You want one of those? You know what I mean? Maybe we should get you one of those. And Kaido's like, well, which ones are they? Like, what do they do? Like, I might be interested. And we know that this is where he did get the Azure Dragon Fruit. But he even, Big Mom's even thinking, well, if I get my hands on them, they'd be pretty good for my kids, too. You know, these would be perfect ones for my kids. Even though they're not food-based here at the time, or at least the ones that we know of, the Pawpaw Fruit and the Azure Dragon Fruit confirmed to be there, neither one of these have anything to do with, you know, food-based. So Big Mom obviously just wanted powerful fruits for her kids, wasn't necessarily picky on, you know, them being a specific type, like Kaido with his zone. Everyone in his crew has a zone fruit of some description, and Big Moms are mostly food-based. Now, they're not all food-based. So, granted, she wasn't exactly picky. She just wanted powerful devil fruits for her kids at the time. Fair enough, fair enough. Now, they're talking about this probably being some sort of trap, like this is why we came by the information. Like, there's a few options. One, the source is reliable, and we got to go get her. And it's all just the straight and narrow. Number two is that Wang Ji, who we know is full of shit, but is like, this sounds fishy. You know, maybe this source isn't reliable. It is reliable, but there's also, we know that, but he could have been right if he wasn't in on the take. The third option is that Shaki is actually not there, is already dead, and it is a trap. So there's, you know, really, there's only one good scenario where it actually works out. Now, obviously, we know it's the first one. It's the former. So Rox is just like, well, if any of you got it, he's just doing his thing. He's like, listen, same thing I told you guys before, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you got cold feet, get off my ship. But I'm going to go to God Valley, I'm going to wreck their shit, and I'm going to get Shaki back. Let's go. Now, he doesn't tell the crew his more important, Shaki is only his secondary reason. It's his excuse to drag all his powerful members of his crew with him. But he does reveal to HARALD later in the chapter, but he doesn't reveal his actual reason for going, which is his family. Rox is very, very different from what a lot of people assumed him to be. I think Oda did that on purpose. I think Oda showcased him as we assumed him to be this Blackbeard, vile human being. We assumed him to be like a Wang Ji. We assumed him to not have any loyalty to anyone on his crew, to sell out his own children for a profit, to not give a crap about the Will of D. You know, all these things. We assumed him to be a maniac, just insanely powerful, so no one would go against him. And now, the more we're learning about him, the more we realize he's more on Roger and Garp's level. He just had this charisma and the power to back it up, and he had a level of loyalty to him. He's just much different than I think a lot of us pictured. Now, this is where the Roger Pirates also hear about this, and he's like, Gabon, where the hell is God Valley at? And he goes, well, it's pretty far, but we should make it in time. So they obviously know the date that the tourney's getting, so they also got the information. And he's like, Roger's like, all right, we're going to go get her. You with me, fellas? And even Rayleigh there, it seems like all the people in the background are like, of course we are. Rayleigh's reaction, I initially read as Rayleigh being like, damn right I'm going to go get my future wife. Like, you know, she was kidnapped and I didn't, you know, like, I should have been there sort of idea. I think he's regretting not taking her away like she asked him to do back then. So now he's like feeling a little bit of responsible. So now he's like, absolutely. And he's like full on, jaw open. Let's go get my future wife. You know, sort of idea, right? Now that I'm rereading the chapter, that's one way it can be read. But the other way could be like Yasop with the, we're going to go see Luffy and the crew, right? And Yasop at one was like, yeah, except, shit, I'm like one of the worst dads in One Piece. I don't think I'm ready to see Usopp yet. Shit. Please, Captain, please, do not say we're going to go see Luffy right now. I don't think I'm mentally ready for this. Because I know I deserve a beating. And I'm taking that maybe Rayleigh is also like, yeah, we're going to go get Shaki. Shit, I cannot argue against this. Like, what's my, oh shit. And he's like, great. Shit. You know, because once again, as he pointed out, very Luffy-esque, and Steph and I made this argument the last chapter, the chapter before. Rayleigh is just, he's this three-dimensional character. He's like, it's not fair to me, it's not fair to her. My first and only love right now is the sea. Maybe later on when I'm ready, but right now, the sea calls me, my heart, you know, the adventure. He's doing the Yasop thing, but he's doing it right. He's not leaving a wife and kid at home right now, you know what I mean? He's like, I don't have any roots settled down yet, so I don't feel like I'm shirking responsibility. I can enjoy my life to its fullest while I'm young, and then if everything works out, then maybe one day, but not right now. And now he's basically being thrown into the lion's jaws, and he's like, oh, I'm never going to be able to give this up, am I? No. Alright, well, I guess I got to go rescue my wife. So I initially took it the first way, but the more and more I look at Rayleigh's expression here, he's like, caught between a rock and a hard place. He's like, well, I can't say no, and we should go save Shaki, but I know that this is just going to end up, you know, knots tied in for me. You know what I mean? So, is what it is there. Now, this, of course, we already knew about this part. We saw this in a previous flashback chapter where when we heard about God Valley and stuff, Roger's like, all right, Rox is already on the move and we can't let him beat us there. So we got to go. We got to get to God Valley. So everyone getting to God Valley, we do see the Garp reaction that we knew of from the last chapter. He's like, wait, Roger's heading to God Valley too? Because he's like, I'm not getting involved with this shit. Like, no, it's got nothing to do with me. And Garp, I know people like to make the memes and stuff, but Garp, for all intents and purposes, this is why he's not an admiral. If he had to witness it, he would not allow it to happen. You know what I mean? Garp is not going to stand by, and he's like, I don't want to cause shit for Kong. I don't want to cause shit for the Marines and stuff like that. He goes, the Marines are still the good guys. From the Celestial Dragons might be evil, but once again, as Garp, from Garp's position, and it's just people who have very little reading comprehension, the guys who fought in World War I and World War II, the guys who join the Navy SEALs of today, the guys who become the chief of police, who become detectives today, are not bad people. Even if the leaders of the government, U.S., are right now some of the most vile people leading that government, who are in charge of their paychecks. It doesn't make the detective who solves the murders and saves the people on the street of New York or San Francisco or what have you, any city. It does not make them bad people. You know what I mean? So, you know, once again, Garp is one of the head honchos, chief of police. Just, you know, but he's not the president. He's not for them. So Garp right now is just like, he's not going to stand by and watch it happen, but he's trying to make the best of a bad situation. And remember, most pirates are not Luffy, Roger, Rayleigh, these guys, and Whitebeard. They're mostly the Shikis, the Blackbeards, the kids, the Wang Jis. They're not good people, you know? So Garp is trying to make the best of a bad situation. So I'm always going to defend Garp and why he's doing what he does, you know? And he's just caught in a very bad situation. But, you know, once again, he's never going to get involved in that level, because once again, if he had to go to this place, he's not going to stand by and let slavery happen. You know what I mean? He's going to do something about it, but he's like, that's going to wreck standings. That's going to, he's always caught, and he doesn't want to play the political game. So either way, fact is, this is where they all mobilize. We move on to the next part of the chapter, which is, of course, Harald in his giant ship meets up with the Rock's crew. This is where Harald. Yeah, he's a piece of shit. I'm gonna just straight up say it. Harald is not a good. I'm not gonna say he's a bad character. I'm saying he's not a good person at all at this point. Like, I didn't like him from the last chapter and the chapter before and stuff like that. Like, he is screwed up now on every front and made the worst decision every single time. His entire life, he has made bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. He made one good, naive decision to say, we're done being pillaging evil monsters. And I want that to happen like this. And because it didn't happen with the snap of a finger, he's made poor decision after poor decision of trying to get that to happen in his lifetime, in 5 minutes. And he's only made piss poor decisions as a ruler, as a father, as a friend, and just as a decent human fucking being. Every turn we've seen now. Harald is, oh my, like, every chapter I'm like, okay, he's just a naive idiot. He shouldn't, like, he's trying to battle on 3 fronts. He's splitting his focus too much, and he's naive, and he's, just under a lot of pressure and stress and stuff like that, and he doesn't fully understand how evil the government is, how evil the celestial dragons are yet, even though he should know. We keep giving him, and I keep giving him the benefit of the doubt, but at this point there's no excuse for this anymore. He's not some dumb 20-year-old. He's a seasoned warrior, a seasoned king, a leader of the people at this point. It's been years. He knows better. He's choosing to side with evil. Unlike Garp, who like basically goes, okay, I'm not on the left, I'm not on the right, I'm washing my hands of both of it, and I'm only doing the bare minimum of what's necessary to keep innocent lives safe. Harald is, oh man. Harald is just, it's painful. This part of the chapter was painful to read. Not in a, it's badly written. I like it. I'm just like, are there any Harald defenders, like, even on, like, the crazy Reddit forums? Like, are there any Harald defenders at this point? You know, power scaling-wise, one thing. But he's not a good person. He is twisted up and making the wrong call every single time. He's not an evil person, but he's making evil decisions while trying to be a good person. And I don't know where the excuse is anymore. Like, wow. And just as I was getting into the swing of my rant about Harald, the doorbell rang. Of course it did. Anyways, alright. That might be for the best. This might have gone on for an hour-long review. If not. So, anyways. So, yeah. The conversation goes like, you know, they meet up and stuff like that. Harald is being an absolute hypocrite here because he immediately says, they said your entire crew was obsessed with this woman. That's how I knew I'd be able to intercept you here at this Junction Rocks, because he's obviously on his way to God Valley. Harald's not actually at God Valley. He's intercepting him on his journey there. He knows where Hachinosu is. He knows where God Valley is. So the Giants intercepted him here. Now, this is where he says, you know, if we fought without any regard for our own lives, we could sink your puny little ship with ease. So see that vessel over there? It's a government surveillance ship. Now, Rox is here with Big Mom, Kaido, Shiki, Whitebeard, and stuff like that. I'm sorry, Harald, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. As powerful as Harald might be, you're gonna lose. But here's where I think the hypocrisy comes in. He goes, your entire crew is obsessed with this one woman. That's how I knew I'd be able to get you here. And in another translation, he goes, you're a fool for, you know, rallying your crew together. Just like you're so predictable to stop everything you were doing and heading directly just to save one woman. Like, is that really worth it, the sake of one woman? And I'm like, now depending on the translation, it's not as bad. But in the original translation, which might not have been as clean, but the whole you're a fool for like obsessing over this one woman sort of idea, it's like you literally changed from being of Rox being an asshole, being a raider and a pillager and all that stuff because of one woman. The mother of your kid. Like, literally, the one running the bar in the underworld right now. Like, you literally were a tyrant, and you immediately did a 180 because one woman slapped you and said, "Don't you terrorize them. Why are you such a dick?" Oh, shit. My entire life I've been doing this, but since she said so, okay, I'm going to change my entire outlook on life, my entire country. I'm going to do everything because one woman slapped me over the head and said, "Stop it." All right, yes, ma'am. So, Harold, pot, kettle, little bit here, little bit here, you know? So anyways, and Rox is actually doing the right thing here. He's like, well, you do realize, he's like, so, you're still like being the government's lapdog, Harold. I see. Well, you might be the king of the overgrown brutes, but you are underestimating us, which he absolutely is. Once again, Harold, you'll be busy with Rox. The rest of them will take down your ship. And he goes, so, you're really content for the government to sit back and watch as we tear each other apart, You're nothing but a giant lunatic clinging to your deluded version of progress. Rox, I can't believe, because as much as Blackbeard makes a very good villain, a fantastic villain even, just like Doflamingo, just like Crocodile, while these are great written villains, you don't actually agree with their methods or their outlook or their end goal. Rox, once again, Oda surprising us here. He's right. I'm becoming more and more, every chapter that goes by, I'm like, I'm a Rox fan. I am a Rox fan. Not just because he's a villain. I would argue he is not a villain. He is the enemy of the world government. The enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of logic going on here. Rox, like, you are clinging to your deluded version of progress, which is what I've just been preaching. Is that Harold is like, okay, this, we need to change. Elbaf has been wrong for centuries. We need to change from we can keep our honor and our loyalty and our warrior ways, but we've got to stop the evil side of that. We've got to change. We've got to, progress. Once again, progress for the sake of progress is not good. That's why people don't like the left. Not to get too political here, but that's why people don't like the extreme left. Or what do they call it? The far left. I'm not a big political guy. But far politics are too extreme for the day-to-day blue-collar workers like me. Too far to the left looks crazy. Too far to the right also looks crazy. That's why we all, we're like, people say we're left-leaning or we're right-leaning or whatever like that, because we don't want to be like, oh, so you agree with this? Whoa, no, of course not. You know what I mean? Because people are very black and white. And Rox is here saying like, yeah, you want progress. Your delusions version of what good progress looks like. You are, like, Harold is so obsessed with the idea that if he just gets in that inner circle, if he just gets that seat at the table, everyone will love the Giants that day. He's such a child in a man's body about this whole, everyone's going to be our friends if I can just get into the cool kids club. And the cool kids are bullies. The cool kids are the bad kids at school, right? They're the ones who grow up to be, the gangbangers and shit like that. They're not good people. But Harold is convinced if he just gets in with them, with the rich kids, with the spoiled brats, with the, you know what I mean? If he could just get in that inner circle, everything will be fine. He's so one-track minded about it that he thinks it's the right direction, and it's so ass backwards, and Rox is calling him out, and he's right. And he's like, but Rox is still, because Rox, once again, Rox is surprisingly, for being Blackbeard's daddy, we expected to have Blackbeard on steroids. Rox is much more similar, well, so dissimilar to Blackbeard, because he's just like, he's loyal, he's honorable to a point. And he's just like, how about you and I talk, though? Just the two of us. Let's try to work this out. Like, the man is a negotiator. The man is like, you got to have the respect for him. So they pour some sake. And they're just like, you must have an idea where we're going and what we're doing. So listen, this is for your ears only, Harald, because this is it. Like, before he even formed the Rock's crew, he knew Harald. Harald was the guy who he wanted to be his first mate, his partner in crime. Harald is the guy, and he's like, I haven't even told my crew this, any member of it. And so they're all like questioning, like the Rock's crew and the Elbaf crew, they're both questioning, like, why are you guys willing to sit there and talk? And it's for your ears only. So he's like, all right. So, and they're impatient. They're both impatient. But he's like, Harald does actually give him, sits down and has a drink. He's willing to listen. What we think is listening. He supposedly listens, but nothing gets in that damn chrome dome of his. Because he says, well, I'm going to let you know. I've actually got a hidden name. And I've been sitting here, and I was going to make a video about it, that the will of D, D stands for Davy Jones. But it seems that would be kind of silly, because Zebek realizes, reveals his name to be actually Davy D. Zebek. So it'd be really silly if it was Davy Jones. Davy D. Jones. Like, my name is Davy. That would be kind of silly. So obviously the D does not actually stand for Davy. I thought I had cracked the code. A lot of people have thought about that too, but it wasn't just my theory. Same with Kaido as a dragon. I said Kaido was a dragon, well before Wano, but I wasn't the only one with that theory. So obviously I don't think it's now the will of Davy Jones. You could argue that that's sort of what it represents, the will of Davy Jones. But the D doesn't actually stand for literally Davy, I don't think, anymore. So he says, so your name isn't actually Rocks? No, it's Davy D. Zebek. But he says, I reckon the world government has been trying to erase this name for a very long time. It's tied to the lineage of the legendary pirate Davy D. Jones. So, we know that Davy Jones was probably the first one with the D. Is Davy Jones Joy Boy? Possibly. At first I said no, they're two different people. But it's possible that they could be the same person, and Joy Boy is his epithet. Just like Straw Hat, red hair, white beard. His epithet could be Joy Boy, and his true name is Davy D. Jones. Joy Boy. Could be. We know that Joy Boy, according to Vegapunk, is the very first pirate. But it doesn't mean he's the only legendary pirate. As Rox points out, he's a legendary pirate, Davy D. Jones. He could have been around from the time of Joy Boy. He could have been a member of Joy Boy's crew. We don't know. There's many possibilities. Right now, it's leaning towards that Davy Jones is Joy Boy. They are one and the same person. And I'm okay with that. I just like the idea of them being two separate people. But I'm okay with either way. So Rox continues and says, the name still commands some influence in the underworld even to this day. So he knows his true name. And he knows where the D comes from. He knows that it comes from, obviously the forefather of the Will of D is, whether they're all actually like children, like people who carry the Will of D are all like, because then they're Saul and stuff like that. But once again, we've seen, look at Big Mom's family. We've seen the fact that after 900 years, families could have families onto families onto families. They all could be trace their ancestry back, because the original translation, not this one, but the original translation said, I'm from the line, not the lineage, but I'm from the line of Davy Jones, as in I can trace my ancestor was Davy Jones. All the Will of D could trace their ancestry back to Davy Jones, so they're all related, but 900 years, they're not really. They're cousins of cousins of cousins of cousins of cousins of cousins of cousins, you know what I mean? So they all have the same bloodline, but it's so diluted at this, so separated at this point, that you wouldn't say that they're cousins or brothers or anything like that. I'm fine with it either way, but I'm good with, all Willa D's can trace their ancestor back to the original Davy Jones. What do you guys think? Are you good with that? I'm good with either way because it does not destroy the inherited will. Because we've seen Will of D people lose their lives. And not everybody can become the next Joy Boy. Not everybody can become this person or the Pirate King and stuff like that. Roger was too early to discover, the final island. And we saw that Odin, Odin died and... Ace died and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And Garp is working for the Marines. Dragon is working against them. Luffy's a pirate. Blackbeard is obviously doing something completely different from what everyone, from what Rocks clearly wanted to a degree. Blackbeard's more like the Joker. He's like a wild card. So inherited will can still work here. They can still have lineage while carrying on different... You know what I mean? Like Luffy's goal and Blackbeard's goal and Shanks' goal and Law's goal and Jaguar D Saul's goal, all their goals don't have to end up at the exact same point to still carry on the inherited will. So inherited will, I've talked about this before and I made a better argument for this in a previous review, but the fact of the matter is, whether they all have the blood of Davy Jones will not take away a single bit of the inherited will message of One Piece. It will not at all. Because Luffy, for example, the best way I can say this is that Luffy did not get his will from, or his direction in life. He did not get it from his father. He did not get it from his grandfather. He got it from Shanks, who, from what we understand, or we assume, unless his mother carried the name, which is possible, Shanks is not, and Shamrock do not have the D. From what we understand, he inherited his will from Shanks, who got his will from Roger. That is 100% no blood relation between them as far as we know. That is inherited will. Newgate does not have the will of D, as far as we're aware. And he also, Ace, took on Whitebeard's name, not his father's. Inherited will is still fine. And from what we're seeing of what Rock's goal originally was and how Rocks was as a person and Blackbeard, father and son couldn't be more different. So this message is still fine. And here the chapter continues with, I ain't sure if the timing was good or bad, but 2 years ago I had a kid. And to keep them totally safe, I sent my family away from, obviously, so he must have brought them to Pirate Island at some point or brought them onto their ship, but he sent them away to his hometown and told them to count on the Davy clan. So, he said his hometown is God Valley. Harold recognizes this and says, so your kin, your wife and children are both back in your child are back in your hometown. And why are you revealing this to me? And he said, my hometown is actually where we're headed right now, is God Valley. So, here's the deal, is that obviously the woman that Rock's hooked up with is unlikely to be a member of the D clan. But it's a woman who is not a resident of God Valley, but that's where he's from, and that's where the Will of D members still are. And this is where Shanks' mother could have been a Will of D. The residents of God Valley could be, and this is what Garling found, and said Emu would be very interested to know this, is that I have found remnants of the D clan. I have found where many of them reside. So people who are native to God Valley could all basically be members of the D clan from what we understand. It's possible. Maybe not all of them, but obviously he sent them to God Valley thinking that the Davy clan was still there. So once again, and this is the problem that I have, that the Will of D doesn't stand for Davy, but he says count on the Davy clan. The D clan. Now I'm sort of sitting there, it might be, Oda might be doing a DD. He might be doing a Davy Jones. Okay, sure. I'm not 100% on this, but, there's so many theories, Flashback chapters and lore chapters like this just give us so much to damn well talk about. And this video is already going to be an hour anyways. Oh my god, this review is going to go so long. Because there's so much to talk about. There's so much to discuss. And where I always say I'm going to make separate videos and theory videos, I always get behind on that and then it's not relevant because the next chapter comes out. So I get it all out here in these reviews. I don't know what to tell you. This is where... So he's revealed his hand. Rox has basically told Harold everything. He goes... My hometown is God Valley, the place being attacked, the place that Shockey's at. But my wife and kid are also there because that's where I sent them to be safe. The Celestial Dragons are going to go tear it up. I'm going not just to save Shockey, I'm going to save my wife and kid. So, Harold, gonna help me out here, bud? As a friend? You know, I understand, I'm just going to go save my wife and kids. And Shockey, who did nothing wrong to anybody. So, gonna go help me protect the innocent? Old pal? Fist bump? Harold says, so you're saying the government staged this just to lure you in? And he goes, nah, the Celestial Dragons are gathering there anyways. Little does Rox know that Garling probably figured out, not that his kid was there necessarily, but that the remnants, or at least a sizable amount of the Davy clan, the D clan, lives on God Valley. So it's the perfect chance to wipe them out at the same time as hosting attorney and all this stuff, right? So seemingly that does tend to be the case, I guess. And he's like, yeah, they just don't want me crashing the party, but they just made a mistake. So it was just unfortunate because they aren't aware that Rox did this. So he says, but destiny is pulling me in and dragging me back. Taking Shockey was their biggest blunder because now he has the excuse to go there with the full might of his crew at his back. And as long as I can get my wife and kid to safety, I'll be at peace with whatever happens next. But it doesn't feel like luck's on my side anymore, Harold. You need to lend me a hand, you know, sort of idea. So Harold hears all this and says he's just going to sink him right here. Harold's a piece of shit. I'm just saying, Harold's a piece of shit. He is not coming back from this. He is not coming back from this. I'm sorry, Harold. You're not a good person. Kind of glad you're dead. Kind of glad you're dead, Bard. Because you are not making a good rule. You're not a loyal friend. You're not a good person. You are willingly letting a guy's wife and kid get murdered. Because... Why again? Like people shit on Garp and Roger in the memes and stuff, which once again... What did Roger and Garp do to you? Harold is actively hearing this and going, "Yeah, no, no. I'm gonna back the Celestial Dragons on this one. They're human hunt. They're, that thing that caused you to do a whole 180 that you used to do, and then your future wife, basically said, abso-fucking-lutely not, and you said, change of heart. Rox is literally saying that he's doing the exact same thing, and you're like, no. Oh, I can't believe Harold. I wanted to like him, but he's an idiot. He's an asshole. He's an asshole and an idiot. Because it's not like, oh, he isn't hearing him, or he doesn't understand the situation, and the government's manipulating him. No, he's been told the facts in black and white. He just doesn't care. So this is where the Rox crew manages to beat them, obviously, because we see the burning giant ship in the background. The Rox ship sails away once again. That Yonko heavy-ass crew. Of course they were going to beat them. The only contender there right there was Harold. Dory and Broggy aren't there and stuff like that. So it's just like, yeah, no. Harold is basically by himself. They could easily take down giants. So, yeah, they either way, the narrator comes on. He leaves and stuff like this. They talk about the fact that, what the Celestial Dragons do and host this tournament and stuff like that. Big double-page spread at the end of the chapter. We see Shockey. She seems, as I said already, relatively unharmed. The Celestial Dragon want her for their own prize. The Gods Knights are fighting over her and stuff like that. Garland's like, she'll be my wife. Quit dreaming, Summers, because Summers is like, oh, well, maybe I'll take her. Like, I'd like to win this one. I'll actually put in some effort. And Garland's like, absolutely not. I'm going to win this. All the Celestial Dragons want want to win her and stuff like that. We've got rare devil fruits up for grabs, and of course the main prize is Shocky. You can have her as a slave, as your property, whatever you so choose. Gunkos that we see, like the God's Knights are there, they're fighting over her and stuff like that. Dragon is the one who actually finds Rox's wife and kid, and says, please get my child off this island. You know, don't let them take him. And says, you know, come on, it'll be all right, Teach. You have to survive. And gets her, you know, her 2-year-old Blackbeard. And obviously Dragon is here, beaten and bruised, and is like, what do I do? And of course he has an actual moral compass, unlike Harald. And he's like, okay, so obviously Dragon is going to be one of the reasons that Blackbeard survives and gets off of God Valley. Absolutely insanity. It ends off with every world noble knows. The tourney features several super rare rabbits to hunt. This year, we're not only secured a brat from the Buccaneer tribe, but for the first time in 800 years, we've also uncovered members of the Davy clan. End of chapter. So once again, they went to God Valley to secure these people. I assume that's the way I'm reading it. How are you guys reading it? Man, this is, as I said, lots to talk about. Very long review. But as I said, I'm always behind on making content and making videos. And there, of course, many of them are so time sensitive that if you get behind, you never get ahead. So it's easier to just brainstorm and talk about all my theories and stuff right here, right now, in case I never get to making those videos. So, yeah, this is just me spitballing. This is me talking, you know, just talking as I read panel by panel, page by page. And yeah, it ends up being over an hour. So it is what it is, but I hope you guys still enjoyed and stuck around for the whole discussion. Let me know what you guys think. Once again, let's start a dialogue. Tell me what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think? Does the D actually stand for Davy Clan? Is it Davy? I can see Oda pulling something like that, you know? Davy Jones, you know? Harvey Dent, you know? I can see it. I can 100% see Oda doing that. He calls it the Island of Destiny. Does the D stand for Destiny? Does it stand for Dawn? Does it stand for, you know, Darkness? There's so many options, of course. I still think Oda would troll us and say Davy. Because now, twice in this chapter, they referred to it as the Davy Clan. No longer the D Clan, but the Davy Clan. So I'm going to go with it. The D stands for Davy at this point still. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as always. And we'll see all you wonderful people back here next time for the next piece of One Piece. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys are too. And have a good one, everyone. Sayonara.